a source of energy. We've said fuel is a source of energy. So, factors to consider when choosing a type of fuel. So, for you to decide the type of fuel that you are going to use, there are some factors that you will need to consider. Factor number one. Cost. Factor number one is cost. When I talk about cost, I mean, are you able to afford a particular type of energy? And are you also able to maintain? So cost. Number two is storage. Storage. Do you have the storage space? So depending on how much space you have, that will determine which type of fuel you are going to go by. If you do not have space, you can choose to use electricity. If you have space, you can even choose to use wood, use charcoal, because you have a lot of space to store. The other point is safety. Safety. Abdullahi, welcome to class. Safety is the other factor you will consider. When you are choosing the type of fuel to use, you'll consider how safe is this particular type of energy. Next point is convenience. 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 How convenient is the type of fuel that you are using? How convenient is the type of fuel that you are using? When you talk of convenience, we are talking of, is it saving labor? Is it saving time? So how is that type of energy or type of fuel convenient when it comes to how you are supposed to be using it? The next point is reliability. Can you depend on it? Is it reliable? Reliability. For example, kama unatumia stima kupika, you use electricity to cook, you have electric gadgets, and you are considering using electricity as your type of fuel to cook. Is your electric supply consistent? Is it reliable? Ama inapotea potea kila siku? So that is reliability. And the other point is availability. Availability. You might want to use a particular type of fuel, but is it available where you are? Is it available where you stay? Is it available where you are running your hotel, your industrial kitchen? So when we are looking at availability, we are asking that question of, is this particular type of fuel available where I am operating my business? And the last point is affordability. Affordability. How affordable is my source, my type of fuel? Is it cheap? Is it expensive? How affordable is my type of fuel? So when I talk about fuel and look at fuel as a source of energy, there are very many of them. We are going to write them down. So when first of all, I'll consider which type of fuel am I going to use. And for me to use a particular type of fuel, I must consider the factors that I have given you. I've said number one is cost. How costly is it? How much money does it require? One, to install or to purchase, and two, to maintain. Then again, do I have the storage space? Point number two is storage. Do I have enough space to store the particular type of fuel that I would want to get? And the other point I have said is safety. And remember, safety was our topic last week. So when I talk of safety, we are looking at how safe is this particular type of fuel. For example, if I'm using charcoal, am I using it in a well-ventilated area, or somebody is going to get suffocated in the event of using charcoal? If it is electricity, have you done the appropriate installation such that you're going to avoid short-circuiting? Have you also made sure that you've trained your staff to make sure their hands are dry when they are touching the sockets and such kind of items? So how safe is your source of energy? Then convenience. How convenient is this particular type of fuel? I have already said, when something is convenient, it means it is making work easier for you. For example, it is saving time, it is saving labor. So which fuel do you think will be able to help you depending on where you want to use it? The other one I've said is reliability. And being reliable is simply being dependable. Can you rely on this type of fuel? Can you depend on it? Or it can fail you when you need it most? Availability, I've asked, is it available? And when you're asking, is it available? We are asking whether it is available in regards to where your industrial kitchen is located. And every time I talk about industrial kitchen, is because when you are doing food and beverage, you're not doing food and beverage to cater for one person, to cater for your home. No. We are talking of industrial kitchen because we are talking about the catering industry, where we are cooking for 100 people, 200 people, 1,000 people, people with different needs and making different dishes or different items. Abdullahi, I'm muting you. I'm muting everybody. Na mute, unaji-unmute. When you allow everybody's mic to be on, the class will not be able to continue. Then the other one I've said is affordability. Can you afford this particular type of fuel? So for those people who've come in class late, I have said that today I'm talking about a topic known as fuel, water, and services. And I've begun with the first subtopic, which is fuel. I have said fuel refers to a source of energy. Fuel is a source of energy. And then I've given factors to consider when choosing fuel. Now, write a subtopic. Write a subtopic down there below that. Several fuels that may be used in the industrial kitchen. Several fuels that may be used in the industrial kitchen. Several fuels that may be used in the industrial kitchen. Several fuels that may be used in the industrial kitchen. So here we are giving examples of types of fuel. Number one, electricity. The first one is electricity. Number two, gas. Gas. Number three, kerosene. Kerosene. Number four, biogas. Number five, charcoal. Number six, wood. Number seven, solar energy. etc. So we have many different types of fuel that you can use in the kitchen. And I've said such as electricity, gas, kerosene, biogas, charcoal, wood, solar, we have sawdust, we have very many other types of fuel. So whatever we are going to do with these types of fuel, we are going to be writing each together with its advantages and disadvantages. So let's have number one, electricity, and under it we write advantages. Begin with electricity and write advantages. Electricity advantages. Number one, It is clean to use compared to charcoal and firewood. It is clean to use compared to charcoal and firewood. When we say that electricity is clean to use, we mean one, it will not dirtify you. It's not like when you're using charcoal, unashikashika makaa, unachafua mikono, or you're using wood, kuni, unapika sufuria yako inakuwa black. When we use gas, our utensils or our cooking equipment do not turn black, and also our hands do not become dirty. That's why we are saying it is clean to use. Number two, it does not require any storage space. It does not require any storage space. So electricity will not require any storage space. You only have to install. Have your electricity installed. You will not need an extra room where you want to store containers of electricity. No. So that is an advantage. You do not require extra space to store. It does not require any storage space. Number three, it is easy to regulate. It is easy to regulate. Kuregulate ni kucontrol. So when we are saying that electricity is easy to regulate, tunamaanisha you are able to control how high or how low you want your heat to be. For example, most electric equipments have got thermostats such that it runs on itself. Then when it's done, it can switch itself off. Again, if it is a cooker, you can take it to low, to medium, to high. That is what we mean when we say easy to regulate or to control. Number four, it can be used for in a variety of ways. It can be used in a variety of ways. E.g., so when we say in a variety of ways, we mean in the kitchen. So you can use electricity in the kitchen for different uses or for many uses. E.g., heating. We'll use it to heat your surface. To heat, that is like when you are cooking. Ukiwasha moto yako na unapika, it's because you want to heat the sufuria or the surface or the food. So heating, warming, you can use it to warm food. Lighting, in the kitchen you need light, so pia itakumulikia lighting, etc. So when we say that electricity can be used for a variety of uses in the kitchen, we mean it's not only for cooking. No, you can warm, you can heat, you can light. Disadvantages. Disadvantages. Number one, it is expensive to install. It is expensive to install. So it is expensive to install. The installation cost is high for electricity because you need to have all the wires, pay the cost, purchase the material, pay the labor. So it is expensive to install. Another point, number two, another disadvantage, it is slower than gas. Slower than gas. So when you are cooking using electricity, the person using gas will cook faster than you. It is slower than gas. Electricity is slower than gas. Another disadvantage, it requires specific equipment to be used in cooking. It requires specific equipment to be used in cooking. So we know that we have various types of cooking equipment. That was topic number 2. If you didn't attend the class, you've seen the recording. Kitchen equipment, we have large equipment, small equipment, and mechanical equipment. Now, There are equipment which are electric. For example, a blender, an electric blender. We have an electric blender and we have a manual blender. Now, for you to use electricity with that blender of yours, your blender must be electric. We will not bring a manual blender to connect it to the electricity. It will not work. So it is a disadvantage because sometimes you could be having the manual equipment, but because you are using electricity, now you are needed to buy the specific equipment that are needed for that electricity to be able to help you. So it requires specific equipment. Another disadvantage, the last one, number 4. If mishandled, it can cause accidents. If mishandled, it can cause accidents. So if you mishandle electricity, for example, if you touch the sockets with wet hands, or if your equipment is faulty, kuna waya zimetoka toka. Jason, you're making noise and I want to beat you up. Kama kuna waya zimetoka toka, again, that is a hazard. It is risky. So if you mishandle, then it can cause accidents. Let's go to another type of fuel, number 2. Gas. Gas. Now, gas, we call it LPG, liquid petroleum gas. So gas, LPG, advantages. But before I move on, in case you have another additional advantage or disadvantage of either another advantage or disadvantage of fuel of electricity, you can say it. Anyone? Abdullahi, do you have any additional advantage or disadvantage of electricity? Mutembe, do you have any? Lorato, any additional advantage or disadvantage? Tabitha, any additional advantage or disadvantage of gas of electricity? Sorry. Okay. Lorato, nothing to add. Tabitha, Abdullahi, Godfrey. Okay. Now let me talk about gas then. So under gas, let's have advantages. The first advantage, it is a clean source of energy. It is a clean source of energy. So gas is clean to use, just like the way I've talked, I've explained in electricity. It will not dirtify you, okay, Sawa, Godfrey. It will not dirtify your hands, that is the staff, the person cooking. It is also not going to dirtify the equipment. Kama ni sufuria unatumia, haita turn black because gas is a clean source of energy. Advantage number 2, it is portable. You can carry gas, it is portable. You can carry the gas cylinders. So that is an advantage because when it is portable, you can carry it and go and cook wherever. Ukienda outside catering, you can go cook it. Ukienda active cooking, you can carry it to the dining area. If the customer needs food prepared in their room, you can carry it and take it there. So it is portable. Number 3, it is easy to light compared to charcoal and firewood. It is easy to light compared to charcoal and firewood. That is self-explanatory. Kulight gas, you only need to turn the knob. Kuna zenye ni automatic. You turn the knob na ina light. You don't even need a lighter. Zingine you turn the knob and switch on the lighter na ina light. It's not like firewood or charcoal where you will need a lot of task and time to light it up. So with gas, easy to light compared to charcoal. Now, here you have to pay attention that we are being specific. We are saying compared to charcoal and firewood, not just easy to light full stop. No. When we just say easy to light, and we are not saying comparing to what, we also have electricity, which is easy to light. So to be specific, we must say compared to what? Number 4, it is easy to regulate compared to firewood and charcoal. It is easy to regulate compared to firewood and charcoal. Again, just like we've said about electricity, you can turn it to high, medium, or low. So you can easily regulate gas. Disadvantages. Disadvantages. One, it leaks and can cause a fire. It leaks and can cause a fire. So there can be gas leakages, and when gas leaks, it is very dangerous. It can lead to a fire. Number 2, it is expensive to buy the cylinder and the regulator. It is expensive to buy the cylinder and the regulator. So the cost of buying a cylinder and a regulator are high. Remember, we are not just saying that gas is expensive. No, we are saying when you are buying the cylinder and the regulator, then they will be costly. Number 3, it is not easy to get when there is a shortage. It is not easy to get when there is a shortage. It is not easy to get when there is a shortage. So kama kuna shortage ya gas na yako iishe, and remember your customers are waiting for food, then it becomes a hassle for you to be able to get it. So it will give you stress. So when there is shortage, it is not easy to get. Another disadvantage, storage facilities may be costly. Storage facilities may be costly and take a lot of space. Storage facilities may be costly and take a lot of space. So gas is not like electricity. So we said electricity, you only install the pipes, but when it comes to gas, hizo cylinders, na kama ni za industrial kitchen, ni cylinders kubwa kubwa, so they will need a lot of storage space. That is all about gas. Let's talk about another type of energy, number 3, kerosene. Kerosene ni paraffin. So you can write kerosene, you can write paraffin, whichever you write. So paraffin advantages. Advantages, number 1, it is cheap. It is cheap compared to other sources. It is cheap compared to other sources of fuel, other types of fuel. So paraffin is cheap. Now, the reason we are saying it is cheap is because you can buy as little as you want. Sio kama gas yenye you either buy 3 kg cylinder, 6 kg cylinder, 13 kg cylinder, whichever kg, the already predetermined sizes. No, with paraffin, Jason, with paraffin, you are able to to determine how much you want. Ukitaka ya 20 bob unanunua, ukitaka ya 20 bob unanunua, ukitaka ya 100, so it is cheap compared to other sources. Number 2, it is easily available. It is easily and readily available, so you can get it anytime, anywhere. It's sold all over petrol stations, some shops, so it is easily and readily available. Next, it is a clean source of energy compared to charcoal and wood. It is a clean source of energy compared to charcoal and wood. Again, it is not going to dirtify your cooking equipment. It is not going to dirtify you. The other advantage, it is portable. You can carry. It is portable. It is portable. And the last advantage, it can be used for cooking and lighting. It can be used for cooking and lighting. So it does not only perform one use of cooking. You can also use it to light. So it can be used for cooking and lighting. Disadvantages. Disadvantages of kerosene or of paraffin. Number 1, produces unpleasant smell. It produces unpleasant, harufu yake si nzuri. It produces unpleasant smell. So the smell is irritating. It is not pleasant, unpleasant smell. And number 2, it can cause fire if mishandled. It can cause fire if mishandled. So if you do not handle it well, it can easily cause fire. Let's go to another type of fuel or source of energy, wood. When I say wood, namaanisha kuni, firewood. So wood, advantages of wood. Number 1, it is readily available. So wood is available all over, readily available. Number 2, it is cheap to acquire. So getting firewood is not expensive. It is cheap to acquire. And lastly, number 3, it is easy to use. It is easy to use. So using firewood is not complicated. It is easy to use. Disadvantages. Disadvantages. 1, it is difficult. It is difficult to get quality dry wood during the rainy season. It is difficult to get quality dry wood during the rainy season. This one is very obvious. When it is rainy season, wakati wa mvua, for you to be able to get good quality dry wood is very hard. So it is a disadvantage. If you rely on wood as your source of fuel na hauna enough storage mpaka rainy season inafika, now it becomes a hassle for you to be able to get good quality dry wood. And remember, when wood is not dry, it produces a lot of smoke, and it will also give you problem when lighting. So it is a disadvantage. Another disadvantage, it produces smoke which pollutes the environment. It produces smoke which pollutes the environment. So it will pollute the environment because of the smoke. It produces smoke which pollutes the environment. Number 3, another disadvantage, it requires a lot of storage space. It requires a lot of storage space. So if you rely on firewood as your only source of energy, then storage space lazima ikuwe kubwa. Ya mwisho, it is not clean as compared to gas and electricity. It is not clean as compared to gas and electricity. When we say it is not clean, tunamaanisha nini? Tushasema ina produce smoke. So ile smoke, it does not only dirtify the environment, it also makes your equipment dirty. It dirtifies your equipment. So kama ni sufuria, your pots, your sufurias, they will turn black. Pia wewe ukizishika na vidole zinakuwa black. So if you've touched the pot and it's black, alafu unaenda kushika another, let's say a glass bowl or a weighing scale, kila mahali penye unashika na hiyo black ya sufuria. So it is dirty, it is not clean. The other type of fuel is charcoal. Charcoal is our next type of fuel advantages. Charcoal advantages. Charcoal ni makaa, and charcoal na wood ziko closely related because we get charcoal from wood. So charcoal advantages, 1, it is clean compared to wood. So here we can only compare it with wood. It is clean compared to wood. Why are we saying it is clean? I know it is dirty before you light it, but once you light, ukiekelea sufuria yako haita turn black. It's not like firewood. Firewood si chafu ukienda kuchukua kwa store. But once you start cooking, zinaanza kuproduce smoke. So charcoal will not produce smoke like firewood. That's why we are saying it is clean to use compared to wood. Number 2, it does not require any manual labor. Does not require any manual labor as compared to wood. Does not require any manual labor as compared to wood. When we say any manual labor, kama ni wood, if you've bought hizo vijiti kubwa kubwa, you'll also need somebody to come and chop them or slice them into sizes that you wanted to fit into the store. But for charcoal, the way they come, they've already been burned, they are in their sacks. That is how you use them. So they don't need any other procedure for you to be able to use. The other advantage, it is cheap compared to electricity. It is cheap compared to electricity. It is cheap compared to electricity. That is our next advantage. Then we have disadvantages. Disadvantages of charcoal. Disadvantages of charcoal. Number 1, it is not easy to regulate. It is not easy to regulate compared to gas and electricity. It is not easy to regulate compared to gas and electricity. Remember, we've already said when we talk of regulating, regulate ni control. So with electricity and gas, uko na knob, you're just turning it either high, medium or low. When it comes to charcoal, it is very difficult to regulate it. Kama unataka kutoa moto inabidi ufanye nini? Utoe makaa. If you want to increase, itabidi uongeze makaa and you give it time to light. So it is very difficult when it comes to being able to regulate or to control the heat that you want from charcoal to be able to perfectly produce your meal. For example, kama una bake ukitumia makaa, it is very tasking and hard work than when you are using an oven where you can just set the degrees that you want. Another disadvantage, it requires a lot of storage space. So again, just like firewood, you will need storage space to store sacks and sacks of charcoal if that is your choice of type of fuel. So requires a lot of storage space. Number 3, it produces a dangerous gas which can cause death. It produces a dangerous gas which can cause death. I know we've all heard of someone who was suffocated by using a jiko. Mtu alikaa kwa nyumba na jiko akakufa because of hiyo gas. Hiyo gas ni carbon monoxide. So the gas that the jiko produces, it causes suffocation which causes death. Ya mwisho, number 4, another disadvantage, it is not clean to handle. Makaa sio safi. Inakufanya vidole zina turn black, everything you touch becomes black. So it is not clean to handle compared to gas. Not clean to handle compared to gas. Now that is all about charcoal. Let's talk about biogas. Biogas. And we know we call it bio. It is gas, but we call it bio because it is coming from cow dung. So biogas. Advantages of biogas. 1, it is cheap compared to electricity. It is cheap compared to electricity. Remember here you're only using cow dung, so it is cheap. Number 2, it is fast compared to charcoal. So hii ina light haraka haraka na heat yake ni ya juu. So the heat is higher than the heat produced by charcoal. So it is fast compared to charcoal. Advantage number 3, it is clean compared to charcoal and firewood. So kutumia biogas ni kama tu kutumia gas ama kutumia stima, ni safi. It will not dirtify you in any way or dirtify the environment or the equipment. So it is clean compared to charcoal and firewood. The last advantage, it is easy to regulate. It is easy to regulate compared to wood and charcoal. So this one again, you can regulate. Easy to regulate compared to wood and charcoal. Disadvantages. So as much as it is readily available or produced from cow dung, it also has its own disadvantages, or there are also some challenges that come with using biogas. Number 1, it produces a cow dung smell. It produces a cow dung smell. So hiyo harufu ya samadi, you will still feel it ukipika using biogas. Number 2, the energy produced is not much compared to gas. The energy produced is not much compared to gas. And the last disadvantage, it requires some skills to install. It requires some skills to install. So you cannot say mimi niko na ng'ombe, niko na cow dung, sasa sitanunua makaa na kuni na gas, I'd be using cow dung. If you do not have somebody who can install and you do not know how to install, then that cow dung will not be able to help you. So we say it requires some skills to install, for it to be installed, so that it can work like biogas. Then a skilled person must be available to assist you. Now, on to the last type of energy that I'll talk about, solar energy. Solar energy. Solar energy. Advantages. Solar energy advantages. It can be used for a variety of uses, or you can just write it can be used in various ways, such as can be used in various ways, such as cooking, lighting, and heating. Cooking, lighting, and heating. So in other words, we are saying it can be used for many uses, not only cooking. Another one, after installing, it is cheap, since okay, I'm going to answer that question, James. I'm going to answer you, Lorato. So, Jason, what are you doing? I am watching the television. No, what sounds are you making? Eh? I'm making. Okay, I have said solar energy can be used for, or can be used in many ways, such as cooking, lighting, and heating. Then the other part, the energy, not the energy, after installing, it is cheap, since there is no bill to settle. There is no bill to settle, or there are no bills to be paid. Ukisha install solar, ulinunua solar panel, ukaeka hizo wires, nao ni kutumia. Hata ukipika siku nzima, ukiheat maji siku nzima, there is no bill to pay. That is an advantage because it is natural energy. Now, back to this particular question. When we say about a lot of work when it comes to biogas, okay, as a disadvantage, yes, as a disadvantage, we can say it needs a lot of work, and that's why tumesema it requires some skill to install. It requires some skill to install. So hiyo point ya kusema a lot of work iko hapo kwa hizo skills. How do you turn this cow dung into biogas? It will require a skill to do that. Now, on solar energy, disadvantages. Disadvantages. The first disadvantage, during rainy seasons, energy from the sun cannot be enough for use. So solar energy cannot be enough during rainy seasons. During rainy season, energy from the sun cannot be enough. That is the major disadvantage of solar. We've said you will not pay any bill, it is effective, but when it is rainy season, because it is mostly cloudy during the rainy season, and it is rainy, so the sun will not be shining bright as it does during the dry seasons. So that means your solar panel will not be powered enough to support the industrial work, the industrial kitchen. And the other disadvantage, it requires skills to install. It requires skills to install. So you must get a skilled person to connect for you the solar panel and do all those other stuff. Now, those are the examples of types of fuel. I want us to go to another subtopic still on fuel, and that topic is known as methods of heat transfer. Methods of heat transfer. How is heat transferred? Methods of heat transfer. I know this one we did in high school. We did it in physics, majorly in physics year form 1. Here I think in chemistry somehow, where you talked about the three methods of heat transfer: the conduction, convection, and radiation. Those are the three methods we are referring to here. Now, before I continue, I have this to say. Do you people know each other or you don't? Because I would prefer you form a WhatsApp group. I need a class WhatsApp group where I'm able to be sending more direction, like when I need you to send cut 1, when I need you to send cut 2, if you have questions. So as we continue with the class, think about that. At the end of the class, I need feedback on the same of whether you have a WhatsApp class, a WhatsApp group, your class. So methods of heat transfer, they include 1, conduction, 2, convection, and 3, radiation. Conduction, convection, radiation. Let's begin with conduction. Conduction. This is the transfer of heat through solids. It is a transfer of heat through solids. And now we are going to relate it to the kitchen. So where do we use conduction in the kitchen? If it is transfer of heat through solids, which solids do we have in the kitchen? We have the gas, which is producing the heat. So the solid that we have to transfer this heat to the food is the sufuria. So the base of the pan is our solid. So when heat is moving from the source of energy, like from the pan, from the gas to the sufuria, then to water, that is conduction. Or it is moving from the pan to the meat in your sufuria, that is conduction, because hiyo heat imetoka kwa gas ikapitia kwa sufuria. Sufuria is a solid. So transfer of heat through solids, e.g. heat is conducted from the range. So anytime I say range, najua uliona range kama example ya large kitchen equipment. Range means hizo stoves kubwa za gas zenyewe tunatumia kitchen. So heat is conducted from the range through the solid base of the pan. Through the solid base of the pan, nikisema pan hapa namaanisha sufuria. Through the solid base of the pan into the food. Into the food. Some methods of cooking which use conduction include one, boiling, two, steaming. So when you boil food, na sisemi hapa sisemi boiling as in when the water particles are heating themselves. No. It is when the heat is coming from the source through the sufuria to the water. We have boiling, steaming, stewing, kama unatengeneza stew. So boiling, steaming, hapo kwa steaming nimeweka R, kwa hiyo R. So boiling, steaming, stewing. Poaching. Poaching is cooking below the boiling point. Poaching, etc. Let's go to our method number 2, convection. Convection. This is a transfer of heat through liquids. It is a transfer of heat through liquids. Another statement. Heated air. You remember when you heat air, you get vapor, water vapor. So heated air is convected and moves upwards. Heated air is convected and moves upwards and downwards in movement. Upwards and downwards in movements in an oven or a microwave. In an oven or a microwave. So when we say transfer of heat through liquids, these are liquids which are usually heated. Zinakuwa water vapor so that they can move. For example, time una bake kitu ndani ya oven ama una warm kitu ndani ya microwave. Unaweka hapo ikiwa na some moisture. For example, cake. Unawekaga cake kama it's a paste, but by the time unatoa imeharden. Kwa nini imeharden? All the moisture has evaporated. Hiyo moisture ndio imetumika kupika hiyo keki, but the moisture has been heated, ikatoka kwa keki ikakuwa kama hot air, ndio ikafanya keki ikapikwa. So examples of cooking methods that use convection include baking, oven steaming. So for this one, if you are writing steaming here, you must be very specific. Oven steaming. So when it is inside the oven. Oven steaming. Braising. When we look at, we have a whole topic known as methods of cooking. Utajua hizo ni nini? Braising. Roasting. etc. We move on to number 3, radiation. Radiation. This is our last method of heat transfer. This is the transfer of heat through gases. Is the transfer of heat through gases. Suitable cooking methods include or before we write the suitable cooking methods, write this particular statement. Radiation occurs from the source of heat. Radiation occurs from the source of heat to the food through the air. From the source of heat to the food through the air. So that is transfer of heat through gases, radiation. So suitable cooking methods include grilling. When you are grilling something, umeona something like grilled chicken vile inaenda round hivi na inaendelea kukua brown, so you wonder what is making it brown na haijashikanishwa na anything. It is the hot air. So there is a source of heat yenye ina heat air yenye iko around that chicken and then it is making it cook. Toasting bread. Na kama unatumia toaster, the hot air is what will brown the bread. Toasting bread. Peat roasting, as I have said, tukisoma methods of cooking, you will see different methods of cooking. Peat roasting is one of them, where we roast food in a pit. Pit ni shimo. So peat roasting, etc. So those are the three methods of heat transfer. Anytime heat through gases. Let's have our next subtopic, still on fuel. Principles of energy conservation. Principles of energy conservation. Principles of energy conservation. And when I talk of principles, there are things that we do to make sure we conserve energy. So principles of energy conservation. Unaweza weka into brackets energy conservation methods. Energy conservation methods. Ama methods of conserving energy in the kitchen. Methods of conserving energy. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is, what will you do in the kitchen to make sure that you are not wasting energy? You are doing due diligence when it comes to handling energy. Kama unatumia electricity, unatumia gas, unatumia makaa, whichever energy or whichever type of energy that you are using, what do you do to make sure that you conserve? In other words, you don't waste. So these are the principles. Principle number 1, method number 1. Maintain equipment regularly. Maintain equipment regularly. Maintain equipment regularly. Tukisema maintain equipment, we mean make sure you check that your equipment are in good working order. And why do we want to maintain? Because we do not want to waste energy. For example, if you are using something like a blender or even an oven, which is supposed to be having a thermostat. Thermostat ni kale kakitu kanafanya kama you time it for 5 minutes, after 5 minutes inafaa ijizime hata kama hauko. Now, if you do not maintain, maybe the thermostat will stop working and you don't know whether it stopped working. So you will wait for the blender to switch itself on, off, and maybe you've left to perform some other task. You come back after 20 minutes, the blender is still running when it should have gone off at 5 minutes. So when we say you maintain equipment regularly, we mean make sure your equipment are in good working order so that they do not waste the energy. Number 2, train staff on energy conservation. Staff ni workers train staff on energy conservation. So the people who are working in the kitchen, train them, tell them how to conserve energy. Kama ni kuwasha gas, usiwashe gas kama hakuna kitu unapika. Kama umemaliza kupika, switch off the gas. Usitoe sufuria kama gas bado inawaka. Kama ni mchana, we can use natural lighting. You switch off the electricity lighting or whichever source of lighting that you are using. So training staff. Number 3, buying thermostatically controlled equipment. Buying thermostatically controlled equipment. Thermostatically controlled equipment. So buy equipment that have thermostats. Na tumesema if they have a thermostat, they are able to switch themselves off after they've finished working. Kama ni water heater jug, ikisha boil maji inajizima. That is having a thermostat. So buying thermostatically controlled equipment. Another principle, number 4, switching off equipment when not in use. Equipment stroke fuel. Switching off equipment or fuel when not in use. So equipment kama nini? Tuseme ni oven. Umemaliza kubake, ushatoa cake, but the oven is still on. So we are saying, if you finished, if it is not in use, switch it off. Again, when you say switch off fuel when not in use, for example, vile nimepeana example ya electricity. Unatumia electricity ku light kitchen for lighting purposes. But then it is daytime and there is enough natural lighting. So go and switch off the lights. That is what I mean. The other principle, effective repair. Efficient and effective repair. Write that. Efficient and effective repair. Efficient and effective repair. Efficient and effective repair of faulty equipment. Of faulty equipment. Faulty equipment ni those equipment that are not in good working order. So if they are faulty, they cannot work properly, then repair them efficiently and effectively, meaning repair them on time. Immediately you notice they have a problem, repair them so that you can avoid wasting energy. So efficient and effective repair of faulty equipment. The other principle, plan preparation and production time. Plan, najua mnafunzwa menu planning. So planning, preparation, and production time. Planning, preparation, and production time, so as not to use fuel unnecessarily. So as not to use fuel unnecessarily. In other words, plan your time well, time ya preparation na time ya production, so that you don't use fuel where it is not necessary. Tukisema preparation na production. Preparation ni mambo kama uko na sukuma zenye unapika, hautazitoa kwa store na uziweke kwa moto direct. Kuna kuziosha, kuna kuzistock, kutoa hizo vijiti, kuna kuzishred, hiyo kuzikata. So hiyo ni preparation. So usikuwe unapika sukuma na ukitoka tu store ukifika jikoni unawasha gas, unaekelea sufuria na kitunguu, and then now you go start washing, chopping, doing all that. Hiyo moto itaenda kwa unaharibu gas ama unaharibu steam ama whichever type of fuel that you are using. So plan your time well such that unajua hii time I'm preparing, after that I'm now producing. Production your actual cooking. So when you are now cooking, you can now start using the fuel for cooking purposes. Now, the last principle. Use equipment according to the manufacturer's instructions. Use equipment according to the manufacturer's instructions. Use equipment according to the manufacturer's instructions. Now remember, every equipment usually comes with a manual, the manufacturer's manual. The person who made it gave instructions on what to do and what not to do. So every time when you are using that particular equipment, you should always follow the manual, what the manual says, what the manufacturer said on how to use that particular equipment. Now, that is bringing me to the end of the first subtopic of fuel. So we've seen what is fuel. We said it is a source of energy. We've said factors to consider when choosing a type of fuel. We've seen the different fuels that we have, their advantages and disadvantages. We've seen methods of heat transfer, and now we've looked at principles of energy conservation. Now, on to my other subtopic about the topic, water. Water is the other topic within that topic. Remember, our topic was fuel, water, and services. So now let's talk about water. Let's talk about water. And when we talk about water, last week we talked about hygiene, and we said hygiene is cleanliness. So water and hygiene are inseparable. We cannot say that we are having hygiene, whether it is food hygiene, kitchen hygiene, personal hygiene, without the use of water. So water is very important. It is the one we use to clean, we use to cook, although whatever we use to cook is known as stock, but the major ingredient in stock is water. So water is very important. Now write this particular statement. Water is a very important amenity in any kitchen. Water is a very important amenity in any kitchen for hygiene and as an ingredient. Water is a very important amenity in any kitchen for hygiene and as an ingredient. So apart from cleaning, which is hygiene, we also use water as an ingredient. Now, let's have types of water. Types of water. There are two types of water, namely, one, hard water, and two, soft water. There are two types of water, namely, number one, hard water, and number two, soft water. Now, when we talk of hard water is water which is having some dissolved salts of carbonates and sulfates. When we talk of soft water is the normal water that does not have those dissolved salts. Now, let's have a subtopic known as water hardness. Water hardness. And then you write water hardness is caused by magnesium salts. Let me write it for you here. Magnesium salts. Salt, chumvi. Magnesium salts, which can either be carbonates or sulfates. Which can either be carbonates or sulfates. Hii mlisoma kwa chemistry. Hard water, soft water. Pia wenye walisoma home science walisoma hard water and soft water. So we have hard water and we have soft water. If it is hard water, it means there are dissolved salts of either carbonates like magnesium carbonates or magnesium sulfates. Now we write another statement. Water hardness is divided into two. Water hardness is divided into two, namely A, temporary hardness. We have temporary hard water. Temporary hardness. And two, permanent hardness. Temporary hardness and permanent hardness. Now, let's begin with the temporary hardness. Temporary hardness. This is caused by carbonates of magnesium. This is caused by carbonates of magnesium. So when the water has got magnesium carbonate and dissolved, we say that water is temporary hard water. So temporary hardness is caused by carbonates of magnesium and can be easily removed by boiling the water. Can be easily removed by boiling the water. So anytime we talk about boiling as a method of softening water, it is not a method of softening the permanently hard water. No, it is only the method of softening the temporary hard water. Let's now talk about permanent hardness. Permanent hardness. This is caused by sulfates of magnesium. This is caused by sulfates of magnesium. It may be removed in the following ways. May be removed in the following ways. Now, I'm very sure you remember a method you learned in chemistry inaitwa permutate method. Permutate method is a way of separating ions by introducing ionized balls. So you want to separate or to remove the ions, the sulfate ions, by introducing other ions to make them soluble, to make those sulfates soluble in the ions that you've brought, and majorly the sodium ions are the ones that you introduce. So that was permutate method, but there are other methods. So we've said in various ways, or in the following ways. Number one, by use of water softeners. Use of water softeners, hyphen. These are liquid preparations, water softeners. These are liquid preparations which, when added to water, These are liquid preparations which, when added to water, the sulfate ion is released. They are liquid preparations which, when added to water, the sulfate ion is removed the sulfate ion is removed or is released, to form a carbonate. To form a carbonate. Now, another method, number 2, use of sequestering agents. Use of sequestering agents or sequestering agents. Use of sequestering agents. Again, I know you did this in chemistry. And a sequestering agent is where we use sodium carbonates, or we use carbonates of sodium. We use carbonates of sodium to form a bond together with the sulfate. Zina form a ring, a solid ring. That way, they are suspended. They come out of the water. The sulfates come out of the water and form a hard ring, a bond together with the sodium carbonates. So, in sequestering agents, write this. This is a very strong metal. A very strong metal that easily breaks the bond of sulfates. It is a very strong metal that easily breaks the bond of sulfates and forms sodium carbonate. Which is a water-soluble salt, and forms sodium carbonate, which is a water-soluble salt. Then we go to method number 3 of removing permanent hardness. Water softening unit. Water softening unit, into brackets, permutate. This is the permutate method in ulisoma kwa chem. Permutate method, water softening unit, permutate method. Then you write this about it. This is where water must pass through a tank full of ionized balls. This is where water must pass through a tank full of ionized balls that are able to relinquish. Kurelinquish ni kama kugive up, kama kubreak. Mostly kugive up. That are able to relinquish the sulfate ions. Able to relinquish the sulfate ions. Water must pass through a tank full of ionized balls that are able to relinquish the sulfate ions from the water to form water-soluble salts. From the water to form water-soluble salts. to form water-soluble salts. So those are the three methods of treating permanently hard water or removing permanent hardness in water. Water softeners, sequestering agents, and the permitted method. Now, before I continue, write down this particular question. And this is why I need a WhatsApp group. Discuss the disadvantages of hard water in production. Discuss the disadvantages of hard water in production. Now, when you are saying you discuss the disadvantages of hard water, remember we've just mentioned what water is, soft and hard. But now when your question comes in by asking you to discuss the disadvantages of hard water, how are you able to handle that question? So, before I answer it, the time when I will answer it, when we form a WhatsApp group, I want you to do that question, write down the answers. You can use the internet, you can use your knowledge from high school, because I'm very sure you know what the dangers that it forms scum, it doesn't lather, it wastes soap, such kind of things. But do your research well and write down your answers. So I will tell you how I will be getting your answers from you. Write a subtopic: water contamination. Water contamination. Now I'm again taking you back to hygiene. We said when there is no cleanliness, food is going to be contaminated. Now here we are talking about water contamination. When food is contaminated, it causes a sickness known as food poisoning. Again here, when water is contaminated, it is going to cause a poisoning. In other words, that water is going to become dangerous for human consumption. So write this about water contamination. This is where water becomes harmful for human consumption. This is where water becomes harmful for human consumption by entry of microorganisms. By entry of microorganisms. By entry of microorganisms. So that is the definition of water contamination. Now, write another statement. This can cause serious health risks and death. It can cause serious health risks and death. Now, the other statement, water must be sterilized before it is released for human consumption according to the law. To make something sterile is to make something unresponsive or non-active. So when we say that water must be sterilized, we mean it must be treated in such a way that no bacteria can survive in it. So water must be sterilized before it is released for human consumption according to the law. Now, the last statement about water contamination. The service provider. Now, when I say service provider, who am I referring to? I'm referring to the provider of water, either the county council, If the county council has not done that, then if you are the owner of the hotel, because if you are going to sell drinking water, you must ascertain that this water is treated, it is sterilized, it is not going to cause, it is not contaminated, so it is not going to cause a hazard, a health risk, or death. So the service provider must use either of the following ways to sterilize the water. The service provider must use either of the following ways to sterilize the water. So in other words, we are looking at how do we make water fit for human consumption. Number one. So how water will be treated? Number one, treating water using chlorine. Treating water using chlorine. And then number two, treating water using ultraviolet rays. Treating water using ultraviolet rays. Now when we say using ultraviolet rays, it's simply using the rays from the sun to purify the water. So they will kill the pathogens, they will kill the bacteria in water, render them inactive, and then now make the water sterile or clean for use, safe for human consumption. So the bacteria will be killed by the strong ultraviolet rays of the sun. Those are the two ways in which you treat water. And the next thing I'm talking about, which will be the last one, is the other part of the topic, kwenye inaitwa services. So write services as a subtopic. Remember our topic is fuel, water, and services. So services, we want to know what we are calling services. And when we say services are many things. They are amenities or things that are going to be occurring, things that we are going to be requiring in our operations in the kitchen. So you're going to find that we are going to be repeating some of the things. For example, gas is a service that we need. Electricity is a service that we need. Water is a service that we need in the kitchen. So majorly here, we are not paying so much attention to the service itself. No, we are paying attention to the provider. If, for example, we have somebody, a supplier of gas, what will bring shortage? What will make that person not supply the gas? Now, for you to be able to understand what I'm saying, first write this. Services in the catering context. Services in the catering context are distribution of various necessary facilities. Services in the catering context are the distribution of various necessary facilities, that are very vital, for the smooth running of the kitchen, that are very vital for the smooth running of the kitchen. So in other words, these are substances which are very important in the kitchen, like things that we cannot forgo. There are things that the kitchen cannot run without. For example, if it is water, we cannot be in the kitchen without water. If it is gas and it is our only source of energy, then we cannot cook, we cannot produce food when we do not have a source of energy. So when we talk about having such things, having services, we mean those things that the kitchen will not be able to operate without them. Let's have another statement. A caterer, now a caterer is the owner of the hotel business. A caterer, or the person providing catering services, a caterer must seek the most efficient and affordable distribution of these services. A caterer must seek the most efficient and affordable distribution of the services, most efficient and affordable distribution of the services from the most reliable service provider. From the most reliable service provider. Full stop. Another statement. Examples of services include distribution and supply of electricity. Examples of services include distribution and supply of electricity, water and gas, distribution and supply of electricity, water and gas, as well as waste disposal services. So when we talk of services majorly, I've said we are talking of the distribution of those services. Kama ni electricity, who is supplying you with electricity? Kama ni maji, who is supplying you with water? If it is about waste disposal, who is disposing your waste? Now, the service providers are the governmental bodies, e.g. KPLC. The service providers are the governmental bodies, e.g. KPLC. So KPLC will provide what? Will distribute and supply electricity. So the governmental bodies, e.g. KPLC, the local authority, as well as private companies. So you can get your service providers as the government, the local authority. When I say the government, I mean the national government, the county government, or the local authorities, or even a private provider of a service. Another statement. The services must be distributed in such a way that they do not interfere. The services must be distributed in such a way that they do not interfere with the safety or distribution of their counterparts. The distribution of the services must be distributed in such a way that they do not interfere with the safety or the distribution of their counterparts. E.g., so when we say that, what do we mean? Una supply electricity, mimi nina supply maji. What we mean, you being able to supply electricity should not interfere with my water supply. So when we are installing, you are installing electricity, somebody else is installing water pipes. Make sure that as you install your electricity wires and the person installing water pipes, make sure there is a room for safety. In other words, those two pipes should not come into contact to avoid causing accidents. So that is what that statement means. So e.g., the supply of water is planned in such a way that, e.g., the supply of water is planned in such a way that the plumbing system supply of water is planned in such a way that the plumbing system does not cross paths with the electrical installations. The plumbing system does not cross paths with electrical installations. Okay. Write a statement down there. The distribution of services may encounter various challenges. The distribution of services may encounter various challenges which may interfere with their distribution. Which may interfere with their distribution. Now, what we are calling challenges are failures. For example, kama ni electricity, kunaweza kuwa na blackout. Blackout is a challenge. Unafaa kutumia stima lakini kuna blackout. So that means because kuna blackout, huwezi tumia hiyo stima and unategemea. Tuseme mambo ya maji. Maji imekatika and you are supposed to be using it. That is a challenge or a failure. Ama gas imeisha na supplier hajaleta. It means now you do not have gas to continue your production. So when we see that the services are faced by some challenges, those are some of the challenges that we mean. So they are faced by some challenges which may interfere with their distribution, including number one. So this, whatever I'm going to call number one, number two, number three, we are going to write them as subtopics. So number one, failure in the distribution of electricity. Failure in the distribution of electricity. We can call it a failure or we can call it a challenge. So you can write failure in the distribution of electricity or challenge in the distribution of electricity. So what challenges can you face when expecting or when you depend on electricity as your service for cooking and lighting and then something happens? So failures ama challenges. So we have some challenges under that. A, power outages. That is one challenge. Power outage in blackout. So write power outages stroke blackout. So in blackout. Hyphen. So we are going to be writing the challenge and how we can solve the challenge. So power outages, hyphen. The remedy is to provide a backup system. The remedy is to provide a backup system. So kama huu unatumia stima kupika and you have a hotel na unajua kunaweza kuwa na blackout, then always have a backup. For example, kuwa na generator on standby. So the remedy is to have a backup system. B, power surges. Power surges. What is a power surge? Power surge ni when you find kama kuna stima but inapotea inarudi, inapotea inarudi. In other words, it's like iko low voltage such that it cannot support the work that is supposed to be supported. And in these cases whereby you find if the electricity was on and the equipment were connected, zingine zinaweza ungua kwa sababu ya vile inapotea inarudi, inapotea inarudi. So power surges, hyphen. The remedy is to protect your electrical appliances with guards. The remedy is to protect your electrical appliances with guards. Unajua guards, power guards kama fridge guard kama hizo. Protect your electrical appliances with guards to prevent damage on the equipment. To prevent damage on the equipment. So if you don't put those guards, inaweza chomeka ziharibike. C, lower power supply. Low power supply, not lower. Low power supply. So kama kuna low power supply, na low power supply ndio inaleta surges. So low power supply, hyphen, the remedy is similar to that of power surges. So tukisema the remedy is similar, we simply mean you are supposed to protect your appliances by putting the guards. D, another challenge in electricity, power rationing. Power rationing. When there is rationing, there is an announcement like this particular day, Kiambu County, there will be no power. This particular day, Kitui County, there will be no power. This particular time, Kisumu County, there will be no power. That is rationing. So once you see that particular announcement, you know if it's on Wednesday, around here we have no power. So we have to look for what to do. So power rationing, hyphen, the remedy is to provide a backup system. The remedy is to provide a backup system. Another challenge, another failure is short circuits. Short circuits. So when there is short circuiting, short circuits, hyphen, the remedy is to ensure there is no overloading of the power system. Do not overload the power system, otherwise it a short circuit. So the remedy is to ensure there is no overloading of the power system. The last challenge, ama the last failure, F, power disconnections. Power disconnections. Watu wa stima wamekuja, wamekata stima yako, and you are running a hotel, you have customers, you depend on that stima to cook and sell food. So power disconnection, hyphen, the remedy is to pay your bills on time to avoid penalties. The remedy is to pay your bills on time to avoid penalties. So if you don't pay your stima bill, ina accumulate mpaka watu wa KPLC wanakuja wanatoa. That is a challenge because now you'll be left with penalties to pay, and also you'll be left suffering because now you do not have the power to provide the lighting, to cook for your customers, and many other things. Number 2, remember we were talking about number 1, those were failures in the distribution of electricity. Now let's look at Failures in the distribution of gas. Failures in the distribution of gas, na gas nilisema inaitwa LPG, liquid petroleum gas. Failures in the distribution of gas. Na tumesema hizi failures pia zinaitwa challenges. So under gas, A, leakage. Leakage. Jason, can you reduce that volume? Yes. Reduce that volume. So leakage, tunajua gas inaweza leak, na gas ikileak huwa moto inaweza waka. So leakage hyphen. The remedy is to ensure that the taps, not the taps, the cylinders are turned off after use. The remedy is to ensure that the cylinders are turned off after use and checked for repairs. Ensure that the cylinders are turned off after use and checked for repairs. So ukimalizana na gas, una switch off kwa cylinder, and then you also keep checking for any repair that might need to be required. When we are saying check for repairs, we like want to confirm whether the cylinder is not leaking, the pipe is not leaking, the regulator is working okay. That is what we check for repairs. B, lack of supply. Lack of supply hyphen. The remedy is to have a backup system and pay your bills on time. The remedy is to have a backup system and pay your bills on time. So sometimes gas inaweza potea, kuwe kuna shortage, so utumie hadi yenye ilikuwa store iishe. So we are saying have backup. Have another source of energy that you can use. Again, lack of supply inaweza letwa na supplier amekataa, akona gas but amekataa kuleta. Kwa nini? Because you don't pay. So pay your bills on time. C, disconnection. So disconnection here means supplier amekataa kuleta gas. Disconnection hyphen. The remedy is to pay bills on time. The remedy is to pay bills on time. So pay your bills well so that your suppliers will continue serving you. Now, failure number 3. My challenge number 3. Failure in the distribution of water. Failure in the distribution of water. Under that we have A, leakage. Leakage, maji inaweza leak kwa tap, inaweza leak kwa pipe. So leakage hyphen. The remedy is to ensure that taps are turned off after use. The remedy is to ensure that taps are turned off after use and necessary repairs are done in good time. The remedy is to ensure that taps are turned off after use and necessary repairs are done in good time. In good time. Number 2, interrupted supply. Interrupted supply. Now, interrupted supply ni same na rationing, water rationing. When in some particular times you hear in this particular line there is no water, tomorrow that other one will not be having water. So when we are talking of interrupted supply, we simply mean water is supposed to be there all through, but then all of a sudden maji imekatika. So the remedy is to have a backup system. The remedy is to have a backup system. Another failure, C, contamination. The water is contaminated. So contamination hyphen. The remedy is to ensure your water is sterilized in the most effective method possible. The remedy is to ensure your water is sterilized in the most effective method possible. In the most effective method possible. Failure, another failure, D, disconnection. Disconnection. So when your water is disconnected, the remedy is to pay your bills on time. The remedy is to pay the bills on time. And then the last challenge in water, E, blocking of system. Pipes in a block. Blocking of system. Hyphen, the remedy. The remedy is to responsibly dispose of waste. Remedy is to responsibly dispose of waste. Responsibly dispose of waste. Full stop. So when you say responsibly dispose of waste, tunamaanisha nini? Takataka zitupwe vile inafaa. Now, this has brought me to the end of this topic, fuel, water, and services. So now what I need to know is whether you have any WhatsApp group as a class. If not, nitachagua class rep. Naye anataka kukuwa class rep, ndio huyo class rep atengeneze group ya WhatsApp. You can type your numbers hapa azione. Tabitha, will you be our class rep? Kazi ya class rep ni simply to coordinate class. So mform hiyo group ya WhatsApp and you add me into the group. So naye anatengeneza group. Tabitha, are you the one making the group? To type namba za simu hapo chini. Tabitha, you've not told us whether you are typing the numbers and forming a group, because hii video ikiisha hizo namba, hizo chats zitapotea, hutaziona tena hizo namba. Tabitha, are you here? Or can we have Lorato? Lorato, type hizo namba za watu wengine. Tabitha, peana namba yako hapa. Type your number here. Type your number hapo kwa chat. Tabitha, type namba yako hapo kwa chat. Tabitha, your number.
Hi.
Let me type in my number here for everybody to have it. And also, Lorato, you will add me to that group. Now, in that particular group, that's where we talk about production. That's where I will tell you about how I will take your assignment 1. Actually, time your assignment 1 sahi nishapita because you people joined the class late. But we are going to be looking at how you will submit your assignment 1 and your cat 1, your assignment 2, and your cat 2. So if there is no other question, we can end the session. I'm hoping that everybody is in the right class. Remember, this is May intake assignment. Tutaongelea hapo kwa WhatsApp group. But if you looked at my recording ya last week, my blue button ya last week, part 1 sijapeana bado. Nitawapea hapo kwa WhatsApp group. Kwa recording yangu ya last week, kuna vitu nilisema mfanye. I said you read the handouts and the recordings are from topic 1. Kama ulimiss hizo classes, kuna maswali nipeana kwa hizo handouts. But pale kwa WhatsApp group, I'm still going to clarify on some of those issues. That's why I needed the WhatsApp group, because it will be easier to communicate there. So hapo kwa WhatsApp group, we will talk about assignment 1, cat 1, assignment 2, cat 2, and how Lorato is creating the group, alafu atawa add. Amechukua namba zenu hapo. Lorato, have you already typed in the numbers? Make sure umechukua hizi namba before ni end hii session, juu niki end hautaziona.
Excuse, I can't see any number.
You can't see what?
I can't see any number for the students.
They've already written the numbers.
But I can't see, because even me, I've not typed my number.
Why haven't you typed your number? Everybody else has typed, unless connection yako ya internet iko na shida.
Because I
Namba za
don't.
watu zote. Yes?
I can't see.
Then it means your network has a problem. It means your connection has a problem.
And where are people? people typing their numbers.
They are typing their numbers ndio waadiwe kwa group. Actually type namba yako hapa ama uiseme uwekwe kwa group.
07
Yes,
01
continue.
65 38
Yes,
41.
41. 0701 65 38 41. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sawa. Aya, Lorato ndio hiyo namba yake nimekutaipia hapo.
Who is the class rep?
Lorato. The class rep is Lorato. Akiwaweka hapo kwa group, yes. Akiwaweka hapo kwa group sasa mtachat hapo. And then we'll talk about way forward. We'll talk about the cards, the assignments, any questions that you are having concerning zile classes zote zenye mtu alimiss. Kama kuna maswali uko nazo za huko nyuma from topic 1, unauliza hapo kwa group, I will answer. Sawa sawa.
Yes.
Okay, I hope we are okay now. So let me now end the session. Tukutane kwa WhatsApp group as we talk about next week.